Welcome to Find Myself Free, the podcast, where we break up with booze, balance our hormones, and heal from the inside out. I'm Ellie Young, certified alcohol-free life coach and functional nutrition practitioner in training. And I'm here to help you break free from the drinking cycle and unlock your best health. After decades of gray area drinking, I was fascinated by my own capacity for change. Now I've made it my mission to pay this gift forward by sharing the biggest game-changing lessons from neuroscience to positive psychology to functional nutrition, all so you can take back your power, balance your hormones, use food as medicine, and feel better than ever. Sobriety is just the beginning. Let's heal, thrive, and create a life you love. Let's dive in. I want to tell you something that could completely shift how you approach taking a break from alcohol. It's called Stop Drinking with Cycle Syncing, and it's the first program of its kind that helps you reduce or quit drinking by working with your hormonal cycle, not against it. Most programs completely ignore this, but your cycle impacts everything: your motivation, your energy levels, your sleep, your cravings. And here's the part no one's talking about. There are actually two specific phases in your cycle when you're more vulnerable to reaching for a drink. Not because you're weak, but because your brain and body are wired differently during those times. This program gives you the roadmap to understand why you feel the way you do and how to support yourself with compassion instead of shame and blame. So you're going to get phase-based nutrition guides and meal plans, grocery lists tailored to your cycle, and all of the content are bite-sized audio lessons so you can listen while you're walking, driving, folding laundry, because I know you're busy. You can start at any time and move at your own pace, and it's all designed to help you feel better faster by syncing your habits with your hormones. So if you're sober curious, looking to cut back, or just want to understand your body on a deeper level, this is a game changer. Head over to findmyselffree.com to learn more and join Stop Drinking with Cycle Syncing today. All right, let's get into the show. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Find Myself Free. Today's episode is how to stop drinking for stress relief. I'm just going to cut right to the point. Simple. I know this is why a lot of you drink. It's the number one reason I drank. And I am in a very stressful season right now. So if you are too, this episode's for you. And I always teach best what I am going through in the moment because I am literally boots on the ground trying to manage this in myself. And although I no longer drink, I remember vividly how intense the cravings were to numb that stress and why we were so conditioned to believe that alcohol actually helps with stress, right? So if you've literally ever found yourself pouring a glass of wine before your brain even catches up to the fact that like, oh, I'm stressed. Like, it's not like we're actually saying it out loud. This automatic behavior mode kicks in, and it kicks in early in the day as the stress is building, right? And no, this does not mean you are weak or broken or lacking willpower. You are actually running a well-worn neurochemical loop that's biologically wired to chase relief. This is the human condition. We are trying to avoid pain. We are trying to pursue pleasure. That is how dopamine works, right? That is why dopamine is so much tied to our evolution, is that we are chasing things that feel good because initially the feeling good was how we survived, right? That was food, that was love, that was connection, right? So the problem is that alcohol is a fake out relief. So today, we're actually going to break down what's actually happening in your brain, body, and hormones. So cortisol is a hormone. A lot of people don't know that when you're stressed, and why alcohol doesn't solve it. This is going to be some science for you because, again, part of shifting our mindset around alcohol and changing the way you think and feel about it, it needs to be backed by some science that actually is going to sit in your subconscious and work on you. Okay, some people have, like, if they've ever seen um like the food industry and how kind of nasty the meat industry is, like the cows and the slaughtering the pigs and the chickens, all that stuff, then they're like, I can never eat meat again, right? Some people are like that. That is kind of what you need to do with alcohol. If you are really serious about changing how you think and feel about alcohol so that your behavior actually changes naturally, so that you no longer have any desire to drink because why would you want to drink this stuff? Because you know just how bad it is for you, just how much it's messing up your mental health, your hormonal health, your sleep, your relationships, your energy, your ability to perform in the world, right? That's what we're trying to do here. And so the science matters and you should pay attention to it and you should try to have an open mind about it because the more you let these facts sit inside and marinate on you, the more you're going to lose that desire to drink. So let's paint the stress picture for you. So I have, like I've been saying, I am in a season of stress. It's end of the school year. Uh, I have a fifth grader graduating, an eighth grader graduating, and there has just been like so many darn events. I can't keep the days straight. And on top of that, my 11-year-old was in a Super Bowl championship. He was also in a soccer tournament on the same weekend. We literally had to miss the first game of the soccer tournament so that we could do the Super Bowl. And side note about the Super Bowl, my son is an awesome athlete and he has been to 7 different Super Bowls over the years. He has never won one. He literally was cursed and he finally won this year. But if you can imagine the amount of like stress and anxiety and anticipation about like, oh my God, are we going to lose another Super Bowl? And like, it's just so heartbreaking to see it for him. It's even harder for parents. I don't know. It's just, gosh, he's only 11. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when he's older and like really competing for like much more, I don't know, high stakes kind of things. But I'm an athlete. And so I live his experience. I live my own and more intense experience. And through all of this, also, my mom came to town to visit to watch the Super Bowl, and I have a hard time with my mom here. That's a whole story for another time. But my stress levels just spike when she's around. I can't explain it. It's a long story, but it just makes everything 10 times harder for me. Like I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's old baggage for me being an athlete and performing and my mom watching and me wanting my kids to be good and perform for her while she's here. And there's a lot more to it that I won't get into, but it takes a really heavy toll on me. And um, my husband is well aware, and he also was very stressed. He helps coach my son's football game, and so he's just trying to avoid her. And I mean, it's just the whole. It increases everything. And when she stays here in our house, she stays in our guest room, which also happens to be my husband's office. So we have to kick him out into he goes and works in my kids' rooms during the day and he's on calls and I'm in my office on calls. So she's like underfoot while we are trying to work. And it's just awkward and difficult. I'm sure some of you can relate. Anyways, so I've been experiencing a ton of stress. And what's really crazy about this time around is I have not ever had gut issues. Back when I was drinking, I definitely did. But over the last 4 or 5 years, I've had an amazing gut. I eat really clean. I work on my gut health with lots of probiotics, lots of fiber. I do all sorts of stuff. And I've like prided myself on having like a really healthy gut. I got the world's worst stomach ache for 3 days straight over this like weekend. I couldn't eat anything. I literally couldn't sleep because my stomach was cramping so intensely and it was not followed by any gas, by any diarrhea, by anything. It was just literally my stomach was just cramping up. It felt like contractions. It literally felt like labor. I was trying to explain it to my husband. I was like, I haven't felt anything like this ever except labor. That's the closest thing I do is the entire stomach was cramping up. I was Googling, I was going through all my functional nutrition stuff, trying to understand what the heck is going on. And to chalk it up, I honestly just think it was stress. And while I know mentally what I need to do, and my body just wasn't responding. I no longer have a stress tolerance for things that are just like, okay, you can get through this. This isn't the big a deal, right? You're not running from a tiger. Nobody's dying. Like it's a football game. Your mom's in town. No big deal. Nope. My body was just like something was going on in my gut. So the stress I was experiencing in my brain was connecting to my gut and causing all sorts of issues, right? So that's what made me want to understand more about the science of stress. So I did a little digging on this for you guys, and I wanted to kind of explain what's going on and why we lean on alcohol so much and why it's such a bad strategy, and just kind of explain a little bit more about what cortisol and your hormones are doing and why Stress in our 40s, when we're in perimenopause, whether you think you're in perimenopause or not, you're in it. Things are shifting. It starts as early as 35. It goes all the way till 50. Subtle things are happening. You might not be aware, but if I start to point some of this stuff out, you might go, oh, okay. Um, so basically, here's the science of stress. When your brain detects stress, your sympathetic nervous system kicks on. This is called the SNS for short. This is essentially your fight or flight mode. So this is part of the autonomic nervous system. This is the stuff that's running in the background, and it breaks into two different branches. Your sympathetic nervous system, which is confusing because it sounds like, oh, sympathy, sympathetic. But no, that's the fight or flight. And the other branch of it is the parasympathetic nervous system. That is the rest, digest, and that's the nice kind of version. That's when you are calming down. So it's like a switch, right? So you get switched on for this fight or flight mode. Cortisol rises. Again, cortisol is a hormone. It needs to be uh, filtered out through the liver. Your liver dumps extra glucose into the bloodstream when it experiences a rise in cortisol because it assumes you need energy. Oh my gosh, something's happening. You are stressed. You have to run from a tiger. Boom, let's dump a bunch of glucose to help fuel you for whatever you got to do. But what happens is you're usually like sitting in traffic or sitting in the stands at like a kid's game like I am. Um, your digestion halts. Your body is like, we're in danger. We need to prioritize survival. So all your other systems shut down when cortisol spikes like this. So over time, chronic stress, chronic cortisol spikes, it leads to blood sugar spikes and crashes. When your blood sugar spikes, your insulin is also released. That's the hormone that is supposed to pull that blood sugar out of the blood and put it into your muscles. But if you're getting such a big spike too fast, it can't put it into the cells fast enough, so it stores it as fat. This is how you develop insulin resistance, where the cells can't take on any more sugar. Insulin is knocking on the door with the sugar, and the cells are like, we are filled up, we don't want any more. And so it stops like reacting to the insulin. So your blood sugar could still be high, and your body keeps pumping out more insulin over time. This is how it leads to diabetes over time, type 2 diabetes. It also leads to poor sleep, gut dysfunction, which I experienced for the first time. Like, holy smokes, I had no idea the cortisol was going to do that to me. I mean, I did know, but I'd never experienced it. And then, of course, inflammation, right? So enter alcohol. We have been conditioned that this is where the relief is. We are like, I am so stressed. It is like automatic in our body. We just start craving it. But here is what really happens. Alcohol is not relieving your stress. Alcohol is sedating you. It is a sedative. It sedates the brain by taking the prefrontal cortex. This is the most evolved part of your brain where all of your high-level functioning is, all of your executive functioning. It takes it offline. So we experience this as a lowering of our stress, but all it does is actually just making you less aware of your stress, less aware that you have a cortisol spike happening, right? How crazy is that? We are literally just turning a blind eye and covering our ears and covering our eyes. We're like, no, we're not stressed. We're just numbing ourselves. You also get a dopamine hit. This is another one of the lures, right? So it feels good temporarily, about 20 minutes. And then the dynorphin kicks in because your brain, it's like the seesaw. It says, whoops, we went too high. Let's release dynorphin. Again, dynorphin's like the opposite of endorphins. So instead of feeling good, it makes you feel bad. It literally counters the high and makes you feel bad, and it pulls you even below your baseline. This is why it's called the depressant effect. And then your body releases adrenaline and cortisol to counter that depressant effect. So the brain is just like in full seesaw mode, releasing all sorts of things to try and create homeostasis, to try and create balance. But you are basically now on the roller coaster of neurochemistry that ends with a crash, and it leaves you more stressed. Not less. It leaves you more stressed. This is facts. Dr. Huberman points out, he has like a 3-hour episode on alcohol if you want to go into some heavy-hitting, hard to hear science on alcohol, but you will forever be changed if you listen to it. Even moderate alcohol use raises baseline cortisol levels over time. So even when you're not drinking, you are walking around with a higher stress set point level that makes you more reactive. It makes you less stress tolerant. It makes you just more jumpy. Do you Does this sound familiar? Oh my gosh, this was me. I was always just like so reactive to things happening in my life that I thought was normal. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. Oh my gosh, I have anxiety. La 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 la, right? And now let's layer in perimenopause. Okay. So in your 20s and 30s, estrogen, it acts as a stress buffer, and progesterone acts as a calming GABA supporting hormone. So GABA is another one of those feel good neurochemicals that helps kind of create that calm feeling. But in perimenopause, estrogen becomes erratic. It starts spiking and crashing unpredictably. It kind of is going all over the place. And progesterone is on a steady decline. It means there is less natural calm happening in your body, less stress resilience, less sleep. So now you're more sensitive to everything: noise, overwhelm, emotional triggers. Your stress tolerance is lower. And it's not because you're less chill, right? I think women get characterized as being not chill in this decade of your life, but it's literally because your hormones are shifting and your nervous system is feeling every bit of it. This is how I felt this weekend. It was like, I am well aware of what I need to do to get through this, and like I'm excited. I was actually so stressed out that I was actually like numb. I couldn't feel anything. I don't even know what that was. Again, I'm so curious about what happened to me this weekend because my gut was a mess and I was like almost numb to even the joy that I should have been experiencing because my kid won the Super Bowl after years of not, and then he won his soccer tournament. And like, but the whole time I was driving my mom almost 2 hours in the car, both directions for 2 different days in a row. So it was like a total of like, I don't know how many hours in the car with my mom. Um, and I just honestly, my system just kind of shut down. Um, and if I 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been drinking through this. I would have not been able to wait till I got home, and I would have just poured alcohol on it, and I would have only compounded the hormonal chaos that was happening. And when I say hormones, don't just think estrogen, progesterone, think cortisol and insulin. These are all hormones. And there is a hierarchy. It starts with cortisol and insulin at the top. Those are affecting your estrogen and your progesterone. So as a woman in her 40s, cutting the alcohol is going to help with your stress levels, your sleep, your hormone levels, your metabolism, your blood sugar. It is literally sitting at the top of affecting that entire hormone hierarchy. Okay. So let's also talk about the gut because, again, this happened to me. I was completely overwhelmed. It took 3 days to recover. I was able to go back to eating all the foods. I was able to take all my supplements again. But initially, it didn't matter what I ate. My stomach would just cramp like crazy. It was so uncomfortable. And I would love to say that I lost weight because I wasn't eating a lot, but I didn't. I think, again, whatever that stress was doing to my body, I just stored a bunch of fat basically through this experience. Awesome. Um, and also, stress is particularly bad for Hashimoto's. It flares my symptoms. So I'm waiting for the aftermath of that. We will see. Right now, I feel okay. I'm also going into my late luteal phase. So, boy, oh boy, just the trifecta happening right now, but I will get through it. All right. So, the gut brain axis. So, you've probably heard about this. It's being talked a lot about lately, but it's this two-way street connecting your gut, which is like your digestion, and your brain, your mood, right? So, when stress hits, your vagus nerve, that's the thing that's connecting the gut and the brain, it sends stress signals. Cortisol, it spikes. It reduces your stomach acid, which slows down digestion. Also, gut permeability increases. This is leaky gut. So I don't know if this is what happened to me. Did my gut all of a sudden become super permeable? Did I like it also can decrease microbiome diversity. And I think, and it again, digestion just halts and stops. So I was like, did I become Like, did I just slow my motility down completely and anything I was eating was just getting stuck there because it wasn't like moving through my body because I was so stressed? I have no idea. This can lead to bloating, constipation, diarrhea, food sensitivities, brain fog, mood swings. I experienced most of those this weekend. I didn't have constipation or diarrhea, but dang, I was so uncomfortable. And it goes both ways. When your gut is inflamed, like when you're eating lots of bad food or when you are drinking a lot of alcohol, your brain gets the stress signal again. It's a loop. So, one that alcohol absolutely makes worse, this loop, by damaging the microbiome and increasing intestinal permeability. So, again, stress is already causing havoc on your gut through this gut brain axis. And then you're pouring alcohol on it, which again is just going to amplify that gut permeability, killing off your microbiome and inflaming everything and raising your cortisol even more. Yikes. There literally couldn't be a worse thing for you to do when you are stressed. Doesn't that suck that we have been conditioned to drink this substance that is literally the worst thing you can do when you are stressed? It's going to wreck your sleep even further. It's going to mess up your hormones even further, creating more stress. But yet we are like told like, oh, you've had a hard day, have a drink. Oh, you're going through something really stressful, let's drink. Like it's literally conditioned to do this. You're on vacation, this is like the way you want to celebrate and relax. Drink. No, drinking does not relax you. It's a trick. And you got to learn this science. You got to grab onto it and hold on to it and don't doubt it. These are facts. These are facts, sister. They are hard to hear. I get it. But you have to, that's the next point of this is basically the day I realized alcohol wasn't actually calming me down, but rewiring me for more stress. That's when a big shift happened for me. I wasn't craving a drink anymore. I was craving regulation. I was literally starting to listen to my body and stop numbing stuff and go, holy shit, what do I actually need? And the good news is you can build that. You can build regulation into your body. And it's not going to be a quick, easy button like alcohol is, unfortunately. But it does, once you start reprogramming your brain to go, whoa, this is not what I want. I need to go in a different direction. These practices that actually support your nervous system, support your hormones, your mood, your sleep, your digestion, that's what we're after. So I'm going to give you a couple different strategies here. And it's nothing new. It's not rocket science. But again, having some quick, easy go-to remedies when you have that initial craving, I'm stressed, I want to drink. You remember this podcast episode. You remember the science of what stress is actually doing to your body. And what the relief is, and it's not alcohol. What alcohol is doing is making everything worse. So here's what you're going to do instead. Movement. Movement is still hands down the number one stress remedy, okay? So it not only is it going to use up that extra induced blood sugar, right? So your liver is dumping the blood sugar and your muscles need to chew that up. So we move our body, and that is going to help lower that blood sugar. It's going to help lower your insulin and insulin resistance. It's going to release dopamine, so it's going to feel good, and endorphins. Now, endorphins, again, is the opposite of dynorphin. Endorphins make you feel good. There's a little buzz, there's a little high from it, right? That's what we like. So it doesn't have to be intense. It could be a 10-minute walk. It could be stretching, jumping jacks. It could be dancing in your kitchen, but literally just get up and move your body. Number two, this is one of my favorites. I've talked a lot about this, but it's the physiological sigh. So I love breath work, but a lot of times when we are in that fight or flight mode, you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to do this whole like box breathing technique. No. I get it. It's hard to pull that out of your hat when you're stressed. But the physiological sigh can literally be done in 30 seconds. It is a inhale through the nose, hold it, followed by a short second inhale where you really expand those little tiny air sacs in your lungs, and then a long exhale through the mouth. You do this like 2 or 3 times. You could do it in the car. You could do it while you're walking. It takes so quickly. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Remember, this is your rest, digest, and heal mode. This is switching from that fight or flight mode, switching into now your body is able to rest, digest, heal mode. Okay. This is fast, it is free, and it is effective. I have taught my kids to do this. One of them will actually do it pretty regularly. The other one could, in one ear, out the other, but hey, can't win all your battles. But this is literally your built-in stress switch. You can really toggle this with just a little bit of breath work, which is super, super cool. Um, the third method here is nutrition. So we can help to neutralize the impact that cortisol is having on your gut. So we start with protein, fiber, and healthy fats. So we're going to talk about my 5 favorite things here. So protein is going to, again, fiber and healthy fats are all going to help satiate you. This is going to help stabilize blood sugar so we don't have those spikes and those crashes. So we have less volatility. And it's also going to create, I always have trouble with this word, satiety, right? So you feel full, so you're not going to have as many cravings. Again, this is all tied to that blood sugar. Antioxidants. Okay. Antioxidants are basically going to help fight the free radicals, which is like oxidative stress in your body, flying around, causing all sorts of inflammation, right? This is your berries. Think of the rainbow. This is all the colors of the rainbow, where you're essentially using all of nature's medicine to go and fight the stress in your body. The next one is omega-3s. Again, this is your healthy fats. These help calm inflammation. They're going to support your brain and your mood. This is like salmon, flax seeds, walnuts, right? So when you're focusing on, okay, I'm going to neutralize, this is how you should be building your plate of food every time. Protein, fiber, antioxidants, omega-3s, and last but not least, fermented foods. These are your probiotics, right? This is your sauerkraut, your yogurt. This is going to add gut diversity, which might have been diminished through the stress experience or through the drinking of alcohol, right? So again, we are just helping to diversify and add to that microbiome with these fermented foods. You can also take a probiotic, but the best way is to do both. Take a probiotic, but also eat fermented foods daily, if not at every meal. I usually just keep a bag of sauerkraut in my fridge, have a bite of that. I also drink a shot of beet kvass juice, and I usually have some type of yogurt daily. I do coconut yogurt because I'm dairy free. All right, last but not least, and we need to build connection rituals without alcohol, okay? This idea that a lot of times women, we bond over stress, we bond over complaining, it's part of our DNA, we lament together, right? And we need to learn how to replace that kind of end of day wine habit with something else that your brain also sees as a reward. It has to also have a dopamine boost. That's why I talk so much about dopamine stacking. So examples of this, and again, you want to try to do things that hit on all 5 senses that bring your brain and body into awareness together. There's that mind-body connection. It brings you into the present moment. So these are things like mocktails that are really flavorful and colorful and beautiful. Put them in a pretty glass. Do the same drinking ritual, but with a mocktail. You can use all of the fun accoutrements. There's so many cool drinks that have adaptogens that are great at fighting stress naturally in your body. Talk to friends, go for walks, movement, breath work, a hot shower with, an everything shower where you do the scrub and you follow it up with uh, a lovely lotion, all the things. Your brain wants a ritual. It wants a dopamine boost, and it also wants closure of the stress, not numbing of the stress, right? A lot of times the thing that's stressing us, it needs to be worked on a little bit, right? It needs to be like, okay, what stress is and anxiety are usually a signal to our body that something needs our attention, that something needs to be worked on and solved, right? Not everything can be solved, but if we are numbing it, it is just kicking the can down the road to a version of you who is more tired, more volatile, more irritable, more hormonally imbalanced, and trying to think that that person is all of a sudden going to be more equipped to handle this stressful situation, this anxiety-provoking situation. No. Like, you are best equipped to handle the situation with clarity, with sleep, with rest, okay? You need to give your brain and body a chance to solve this issue, this problem with the best version of yourself. Okay? So think about that. Like, I think about some of the things in my life that have come up over the last 4.5 years that have been so incredibly stressful and so difficult. And I look back and I'm like, can you imagine if you were still drinking through this? If you were still somehow numbing with this and just adding, just pouring fuel to the internal fire that is stress and cortisol in your 40s. Like, I'm just so grateful that time is behind me, because right now I'm still experiencing it and I don't want to. Like, I know mind over matter. Like, I shouldn't care about certain situations as much. And like, I tell myself not to. And I feel like I'm disassociating and detaching from these like sports experiences or having my mom here and all the things. But my body is still experiencing it, even though mentally I'm like, I'm fine, I'm doing great, And it's that to me is just pure evidence of this shift in my hormones, that my body is not tolerating stress the same way, and that things that maybe used to not bother me as much, I now experience on a more intense level. So if you're experiencing that, I am with you, and just know that alcohol is not the answer. It is making things worse. And once you start supporting your system instead of sedating it, everything changes. Your sleep improves, your cravings drop because your blood sugar levels are going to regulate. You're going to feel less reactive. You're actually going to feel calm. I love that moment when my clients start to experience this calm, when they're like, it just feels, some people are like, it's almost boring because they're so used to this roller coaster of intense emotions. And all of a sudden, everything just feels lighter and easier and less intense. And your confidence grows because you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not like beating up on myself all the time or feeling ashamed or just doubting myself and second guessing myself and just riddled with anxiety." This is such a powerful moment in your journey when you start to recognize that, like, "Oh my gosh, alcohol was not the answer to my stress and anxiety." This is a turning point for so many people. And that's why I wanted to do a whole episode just on this particular topic, because we believe alcohol helps with our stress and anxiety. It is such an automatic craving and habit loop in our brain that it is so hard. Most people struggle with this the most. Maybe they can give up the social kind of fun drinking, but when they get stressed, they can make it so far in their journey. And then they get stressed when life happens. That's when they cave, because they're just like, I can't get through this without numbing it. You are abandoning yourself in those moments instead of being present and getting through it. And I also need to remind you too that, like, the pain of the moment, of the stress and the anxiety in the moment, sometimes we're like, I can't tolerate it, I have to drink. And you're essentially choosing then the pain of the hangover, the pain of the anxiety and stress that will follow, the loop that follows, the craving cycle that follows. It's never just drinking for that one stressful moment and then being like, I'll get back on the wagon. You've essentially kind of fed the beast again, that craving beast who is saying, yes, and now you put it on that roller coaster of neurochemistry, where it's now going to create this void of dopamine where you're going to crave alcohol even more. So you are setting yourself back, and it's not something to be ashamed of when you do drink because you are stressed. Just understanding how this brain and body work together and going, okay, it's not me. This is how a human brain reacts to stress. This is how a human brain reacts to alcohol. And I have been conditioned to use that. How can I uncondition it? And it's listening to information like this, okay, that will continue to shift how you feel. And it takes time, because we've been conditioned for decades with different messages that say, no, alcohol's the answer to all your stress. Drink, 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 right? How many times have you been offered a drink when you're stressed? How many times do people say at the end of the day, oh, I can't wait for a drink, right? That's the world we live in, and you are waking up and challenging it. And that is something you should be super proud of, because you are doing a really hard thing that not a lot of people will do in this world, right? Not a lot of people will ever attempt to change their relationship to alcohol, because one, it's really hard. And two, they don't want to, they're afraid of what it means to try and change their relationship to alcohol. They're afraid they have to admit that they have some type of problem, because once they do start to try and change it, and they realize how hard it is, then they go, oh my gosh, but I don't have a problem. I drink like everybody else does. This is normal. This behavior is normalized. But we need to unnormalize it because it shouldn't be normal to feel like shit all the time and to be riddled with anxiety and depression and to believe that your stress relief lives in a glass, a substance, a stupid substance, a drink. That is not your stress relief. All right. You have to train your brain and body to rely on other methods. And if you are sober curious and alcohol is taking more than it's giving, this is your sign. You can email me or DM me on Instagram. I'm at Find Myself Free. My website is findmyselffree.com. DM me the number 10 on Instagram, and I will send you my free guide, 10 minutes to inspire and rewire your break from booze. Because again, getting the information that is going to shift how you think and feel about alcohol, that is where our behavior stems from, a subconscious level. We are challenging all of the conditioning that we've experienced over the years that has been subconscious. We haven't even thought about it or questioned it, right? But when you get new information like this and you go, oh my gosh, I had never thought about it like that. Let that information marinate, soak in, and let it challenge you the very next time you have a stress craving and you think, I want to drink right now. But wait, what did I learn? And can I move? Can I shift to a different behavior that I know is actually going to help turn on that parasympathetic nervous system, which is what is actually going to lower your cortisol, right? Alcohol turns on the sympathetic. It is raising your cortisol. It is raising your adrenaline and your stress hormones, okay? And remember, you actually don't need more willpower. You need wiring. You need to reprogram the brain. And you need better support. Okay? I am with you. And as always, you got this.